This script, it's available on my GitHub page. I think I've got version 9. No, I apologize. I've got version 10 here. I just haven't updated the text yet. Version 10. And I think version 9 is what's up on my GitHub page. So I'll push a newer version of this one out here. I've just been updating the documentation and making it a little bit more user-friendly. But this guy is designed to, it's a PowerShell wrapper for our server tool command, which is a seed loading utility for either a reverse seeding or seed uploads. What it's going to do, it's going to download this latest server tool version. It's going to extract it and run server tool sequentially against a CSV list of your devices. Whatever devices you pick, and that will either update or build, or I guess build and then update offline speed vaults for you. I've got network and local paths, so you can use it to a network share, a NAS device, provide credentials, or you can go to a external USB or direct attached drive as your speed vault. Now you can control your network path, your network credentials, the thread counts, number of retry counts, the device list, and whether you want to be prompted to pick devices from a pick list or just run through the entire list sequentially. I've got in my docs here information on the actual tool, sample server tool commands. This is how you would do the command if you weren't using my script. You would just run server tool with a device name and the installation key and pick to a path and number of threads and the number of retry counts and let it run. This is just a way to do this for bulk systems unattended, okay? I give you a sample CSV file in here of what information we might need in order to do this, how to even generate a CSV file as an export out of the backup.management console. I've hard-coded in a couple different parameters here. So if I'm using network, I've got my default network path and my default network user and a default temp drive letter. I've got my local path defaults. I've got, maximum or the current number of thread counts and retry counts. Do I want to pick the device list true or false? And where is my default path for the device list? You could change any of these variables in this section here. You could default it from network to using the local by default, or use neither of those and use the help context by default. When I go and run this, let's get back to my script here. I can run it in just a generic format with no parameters, although I could force a network or network path, network temp, network user, network password to go to a local environment, to go to a local path, or put it into help mode. I can control thread counts, retry counts, and whether I want to be prompted to select for devices or not here, all from the command line. This would allow me to use this script fully with command line functions from Windows Task Scheduler, or even embedded into my RMM tool to build an offline and maintain an offline set of speed vaults. Okay, I'm going to do this here without any additional parameters. And because I don't have network credentials and I specified network as an embedded default, it wants to know where I'm going to be sending this. So I'm going to go to Ivy/administrator as my user. And I'll drop my password into here. This is going to connect to that network path. It's going to mount it as drive loader Z, so I can get sizes and free space available on that environment. It's a temporary mount. I've done it in the context of the script inside of PowerShell. And once this script finishes running, it'll disconnect that volume and those drives so that we don't have a rogue agent that gets access to this machine able to go and compromise that network path. So it's downloaded the latest Cove Data Protection Server Tool build. It's extracted that build. You saw the bar come right across the screen temporarily, and you get a warning pop-up here. Find the pop-up device list and select one or more devices to build or sync as an offline speed vault. And this is on another window, or another screen, so I'll grab that. This is my CSV file, and it's an export out of backup.management. It allows me to see partner, computer name, device name. I only need these two columns here, device name and installation key, and it's going to pull those. Note that they do have spaces in them, and I've coded around that with PowerShell. But I can pick a couple devices here, and it'll build those speed vaults. And speed vault is going to be the equivalent size of your current used storage. So if you were to run this report and export it out and leave it for 6 months, yeah, these numbers are no longer going to be accurate. But in this case, I just ran this export recently, so I want to get a couple small speed vaults here. So I'll grab a couple of the smaller ones here. And we'll go with these 3 here. So I've selected 3 of those. I'll hit OK. And it is now starting to synchronize that vault. It's doing it for device 2016-IST. You can see that in the title of the PowerShell script now, what device it's working on sequentially. It displays on the screen the actual raw server tool command. If you wanted to grab this command and run it natively raw yourself, this is what it passed to the server tool application. And this did spawn an actual command prompt instance. That just completed, and it opened up and it went to device number 2. And we'll grab that instance, and we can see here, for each of these, it's spawning a server tool instance, it's processing storage nodes, it's counting through the percentages of the sync, working its way down until it completes. Each time it finishes with one device, it inventories the network path based on last write time. You can see here, these are all the vaults that have folders here, and then these are the timestamps for the last write time for those individual paths and the current size. So you can get an update. Is the vault synchronized? While the vault is synced, it'll be named appropriately to act as a speed vault. If a vault is not fully synchronized, it'll still maintain this temporary state until it does get a full sync from the cloud. So we're working on CentOS right now. So that guy's going to run through. It's processing storage nodes. You'll see these percentages changing here. It may go through multiple nodes. So it'll go 1 to 100, and then node 2, 1 to 100, node 3, 1 to 100, depending on how many nodes and how long it's existed. I think there's some more work I could probably do on the script, but ultimately it's a script I've designed for partners to take and make their own. So I'm curious, is there anybody that hung out here that would find this useful? Is there an advantage to having a offline speed vault at your location or the customer secondary site that is somewhat air gapped in the sense that it's not connected to the network except for when you're syncing the vault? Could you use this to replace the old approach of swapping out a hard drive that's being used as a secondary copy, and taking those drives off site, things like that? Oh, hey, Steve did confirm that it does run on Mac OS 13 and does report version correctly. Very cool, Steve. I appreciate that one. I guess I'll do some tests myself, assuming I can get a version upgrade going here. But I appreciate your initial confirmation on that one. That's great. Do a couple restore tests. Make sure that it does look like it's working for you from a backup perspective. If you have problems, let me know. Wow, I may have actually gained attendees, or at least I didn't lose anybody. So thank you guys for hanging around. I appreciate that one. I know I went long. I don't like to take longer than normal in these sessions, but hopefully something like this is something that you find useful, or you might in the future find a use case for this. You don't have to use this to maintain offline speed vaults. Let's say you've got a customer that's down. They didn't have a speed vault. You're waiting on a new piece of hardware to be shipped to you, and you're going to start to rebuild that hardware for them. Well, instead of restoring from the cloud, while you're waiting on that new hardware to come in, build a speed vault for you at your premise, point it to the external USB or SSD drive. That way, when the device does come in, you can use that speed vault on that external USB or on the external NAS to help speed your bare metal recovery. You're just going to point the speed vault to this IV backup offsite speed vault path. Stop right here at this slash. It will know the device name and it'll find the appropriate path, assuming that it's not still in a temporary state. Okay.